So my name's Eric Neer. I'm a fifth generation farmer located in Clark and Champaign County, Ohio. We're a crop operation, grain farm operation where we grow corn and soybeans. When I think about profitability related to equipment and related to technology, the first thing that comes to mind is our sprayer. And we purchased an ExactApply sprayer. I can remember the first weekend that we ran it. You could start running the numbers and calculating how many dollars you were saving based upon the limited amount of overlap and then just the precise application. You know, historically we would run, and you could just like clockwork, you could plan on 3 to 3.5% overage on acreage, and then you could also plan on 3 to 3.5% overage on rate. And you know, after the first few fields, you could start to notice it because we were tenths of a percent of overage. So I think within the first weekend of spraying, I figured we had saved about $1,500, within a few days. When it comes to other aspects of productivity, like I do tend to think about harvest quite a bit. We implemented machine sync a couple years ago, and at first blush, it feels like it's a little unnecessary because we've been running a grain cart with a combine for years, but it just becomes very effortless as we're moving through the field, and just allows things to be a little bit more in sync, and lowers the stress level between the cart operator and the combine operator. Sometimes when I think about technology, I think about the fundamentals, like the blocking and tackling of production. And as simple as it is, we've had AutoTrac for 20 years roughly, yet that is such a key feature when it comes to productivity and it comes to reducing costs, because we don't do a lot of tillage when you're working with a 12.5-foot implement. Like, the reduction of overlap is critical, and you can increase your productivity so quickly by just cutting down on the amount of overlap. And then along the same lines, when you're not worried about steering, it just, in terms of staying fresh, you don't realize it at first, but then it kicks in over time. My dad shares a story with friends that are non-farming friends, in which he references, the moment in time in the 70s when they got air conditioning in a cab of a tractor. And at that moment, they realized, like, I will never own a tractor without air conditioning. And he correlates that with AutoTrac, because he thought AutoTrac was not necessary, in those first few years. No different than the air conditioning, But at this point in time, we won't own a tractor without AutoTrac. Logistically, when we're working around the farm, like, one of the key benefits that we've taken a hold of over the past few years has been the use of Operations Center. I just got a call this morning from one of our guys that was in a tractor that was a little bit concerned with the job that they were doing. And while I'm in a piece of equipment, I can quickly look up on my phone and provide a little bit of affirmation, like, hey, you're doing fine, just keep up the good work. And that's the benefit of Operations Center and the ability to view things. Some of those pieces of technology that have helped mitigate risk for us, I mean, the thing that comes to mind is row clutches when we're planting. As an example, that prior to row clutches, we have a lot of point rows in a lot of our fields, so we would overplant those end rows, and then you're at the risk of lodging and wind blowing the corn over and things of that nature. And I think just that small little change, the ability to know where you're planting and know that you only want one crop on that acre as opposed to 2 crops, has been huge. As we operate day to day, we do use Operations Center quite a bit. As we're harvesting a field, it's super fun to just pull it up and you have all of your history right in the palm of your hand, and we can take a look back and say, oh man, this corn was really good this year, but how did it compare to 2023? How did it compare to 2021? And then at the same time, we can get in a field that's struggling, and we can say, how did it compare to 2012? you know, or 2019. So you can go back quickly and look at those field level yields and just have a mark in the back of your mind, like how are we comparing versus the past? And we do that day in, day out.